title of this Sunday school lesson is The primary scripture text for this lesson is the book of Matthew, chapter 10, verses 1 through 15. Other recommended scriptures for this lesson is John, chapter 20, verses 21 through 23, Revelations, chapter 11, verses 3 through 6, Jeremiah, chapter 23, verses 1 through 14, Ezekiel, chapter 34, verses 1 through 16. Let's get into it. This is going to be the New Living Translation, starting with Matthew chapter 10, verse 1.
Chapter 10. Jesus sends out the 12 apostles. Jesus called his 12 disciples together and gave them authority to cast out evil spirits and to heal every kind of disease and illness. Here are the names of the 12 apostles. First, Simon, also called Peter. Then Andrew, Peter's brother. James, son of Zebedee. John, James' brother. Philip, Bartholomew, Thomas, Matthew, the tax collector, James, son of Alphaeus, Thaddeus, Simon the Zealot, Judas Iscariot, who later betrayed him. Jesus sent out the 12 apostles with these instructions. Don't go to the Gentiles or the Samaritans, but only to the people of Israel, God's lost sheep. Go and announce to them that the kingdom of heaven is near. Heal the sick, raise the dead, cure those with leprosy, and cast out demons. Give as freely as you have received.
Reading commentary from verse 1 through 9. Jesus called the 12 disciples. He didn't draft them, force them, or ask them to volunteer. He chose them to serve him in a special way. Christ calls us today. He doesn't twist our arms and make us do something that we don't want to do. We can choose to join him or remain behind. When Christ calls you to follow him, how do you respond? The list of Jesus' 12 disciples doesn't give us many details, probably because there weren't many impressive details to tell. Jesus called people from all walks of life: fishermen, political activists, tax collectors. He called common people and uncommon leaders, rich and poor, educated and uneducated. Today, many people think only certain people are fit to follow Christ. But this was not the attitude of the Master himself. God can use anyone, no matter how insignificant he or she appears. When you feel small and useless, remember that God uses ordinary people to do his extraordinary work. Bartholomew is probably another name for Nathanael, whom we meet in John 1, verses 45 through 51. Thaddeus is also known as Judas, son of James. The disciples are also listed in Mark chapter 3, 16 through 19, Luke 6, 14 through 16, and Acts 1, 13. Simon the Zealot may have been a member of the Zealots, a radical political party working for the violent overthrow of the Roman rule in Israel. Why didn't Jesus send the disciples to the Gentiles or the Samaritans? A Gentile is anyone who is not a Jew. The Samaritans were a race that resulted from intermarriage between Jews and Gentiles after the Old Testament captives. See 2 Kings 17, verse 24. Jesus asked his disciples to go only to the Jews because he came first to the Jews. Romans 1:16. God chose them to tell the rest of the world about him. Jewish disciples and apostles preached the good news of the risen Christ all around the Roman Empire, and soon Gentiles, were pouring into the church. The Bible clearly teaches that God's message of salvation is for all people, regardless of race, sex, or national origin. Genesis 12:3, Isaiah 25:6, Isaiah chapter 56, 3 through 7, Malachi chapter 1:11, Acts 10:34 through 35, Romans chapter 3:29 through 30, Galatians chapter 3:28. The Jews were waiting for the Messiah to usher in his kingdom. They hoped for a political and military kingdom that will free them from the Roman rule and bring back the days of glory under David and Solomon. But Jesus was thinking about a spiritual kingdom. He was talking about a spiritual kingdom. The good news today is that the kingdom is still near. Jesus, the Messiah, has already begun his kingdom on earth in the hearts of his followers. One day, the kingdom will be fully realized. Then evil will be destroyed, and all people will live in peace with one another. Jesus gave the disciples a principle to guide their actions as they minister to others. Give as freely as you have received. Because God has showered us with his blessings, we should give generously our time, love, and possessions to others. Continuing.
Don't take any money in your money belts, no gold, silver, or even copper coins. Don't carry a traveler's bag with a change of clothes and sandals, or even a walking stick. Don't hesitate to accept hospitality, because those who work deserve to be fed. Whenever you enter a city or village, search for a worthy person and stay in his home until you leave town. When you enter the home, give it your blessing. If it turns out to be a worthy home, let your blessing stand. If it is not, take back the blessing. If any household or town refuses to welcome you or listen to your message, shake its dust from your feet as you leave. I tell you the truth. The wicked cities of Sodom and Gomorrah will be better off than such a town on the judgment day. Look, I am sending you out as sheep among wolves, so be as shrewd as snakes and harmless as doves.
Reading commentary from verse 10 to verse 15. Jesus said that those who minister are to be cared for. The disciples could expect food and shelter in return for the spiritual service they provided. Who ministers to you? Make sure you take care of the pastors, missionaries, and teachers who serve God by serving you. See 1 Corinthians chapter 9, 9 and 10, and 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 17. Also, hint, hint, I do have a PayPal on my homepage. If you feel free and feel moved to donate. All right, continuing. Mark's account, chapter 6, 8, says to take a walking stick. And Matthew and Luke, chapter 9, 3, says not to. Jesus may have meant that they were not to take any extra pair of sandals, walking sticks, and bag. In any case, the principle was that they were not to go out ready for duty and travel unencumbered by excess material goods. Why did Jesus tell his disciples to shake the dust off their feet if a city or home didn't welcome them? When leaving Gentile cities, pious Jews often shook the dust from their feet to show their separation from Gentile practices. If the disciples shook the dust of a Jewish town from their feet, it would show their separation from Jews who rejected their Messiah. This gesture was to show the people that they were making a wrong choice, that the opportunity to choose Christ might not present itself again. Are you receptive to teaching from God? If you ignore the Spirit's prompting, you may not get another chance. The cities of Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed by fire from heaven because of their wickedness. Genesis 19:24 through 25. Those who reject the good news when they hear it will be worse off than the wicked people of those destroyed cities who never heard the good news at all. Don't forget to comment, thumbs up, share, and subscribe. Key points. Although we are not named with the 12, we are called to follow God. Spiritual leaders are appointed to be servants of the people. God is the master. When we are sent by God, the ministry that He entrusts to us will bless His people. True ministry requires personal sacrifice to meet the needs of others. Thank those who share God's blessings. We should take care of those who make sacrifices to serve us. I hope this lesson was helpful to you, and y'all have a good day.